What it do? We back again. It's your boy M. Dot featuring my guy Smoove, and we here stepping to the light, stepping to the mic podcast. Smoove, how you doing, brother?
Man, it's another day, dog. I'm feeling good. How about yourself, man?
Hey, I'm living, I'm loving it, and I'm happy. God is good. You know what I mean? My family's good. We healthy. We had a little COVID issue. Half my family had COVID. I think I addressed it on the last podcast, but everybody good now. You know what I mean? COVID just the flu, another virus. You know what I mean? Your body got to fight it off, get natural immunity. Antibodies got to grow. So yeah, I think we're doing better now. We're doing a lot better.
I'm glad y'all are actually better, man. For real. I was worried about y'all, but y'all were good though.
Yeah. We straight. So without further ado, audience, let me introduce to a very special guest in the building. We actually have a medical doctor on the podcast, Dr. Blair Barnes. Dr. Blair Barnes, how you doing?
Hey y'all, I'm doing good. Nice to see everybody on here.
Love your energy. So, let's dive in real quick. Let's get to the nitty gritty. Let's not play any games. So just tell the audience, you know what I mean? Describe your background and where you come from, and how did you come to the point that you are now?
Whew, this is like a loaded question.
Shoot it out.
Yeah. I would start by saying that I was raised by a single mom. Let me throw that out there. Shout out to Lisa. Shout out to Lisa for doing her thing. I was raised by a single mom. I was born in Connecticut, born in Stanford. A lot of people know, or maybe I don't, but I moved to Delaware when I was like maybe 12 years old. Basically grew up in Delaware, Delawarean now. Went to high school at Newark. Shout out to Newark High. Where'd you go, Matt? You went to William Penn?
Of course, William Penn all day, Del P, baby.
I heard some stuff about William Penn back in the day.
We're not gonna get into that.
I heard. Listen. Every time we have another Delawarean on here, we get into like a little pissing contest of who went to the best high school. It is undoubtedly true that William Penn, the best high school in Delaware. I would die on that fact.
Well, why would you think that at all? Like, please explain.
First off, all right, we're not gonna get into that because we get into that every time we got a Delawarean on, we get into the same argument. So it's undoubtedly true.
I want to hear why you think William Penn was a good school.
All right, go ahead, Smoove. I'll let Smoove handle this. Smoove, go ahead,
man.
Bro.
Look, bro.
Go ahead, bro. I'll let you get that.
How you gonna throw me in the mix? I'm sitting here trying to mind my business. You gonna throw me in the mix for your man? What are you doing?
I don't need to start trouble. Right.
So Penn. So look, I'm gonna address it, right? So William Penn is the best high school in my opinion because of the fact that it's cherry and black, red and black. A colonial is our mascot, and a lot of people don't know the colonial. William Penn was a Quaker. He was an abolitionist. So he was definitely against slavery. So that's why he put it at the top. Number two, you know what I mean? The best is it's the biggest high school in Delaware. Number three, we had a reputation of being the roughest, toughest high school in Delaware. If you can make it in Penn, you can make it anywhere. Yeah, the roughest, toughest. Absolutely. Like, people, like, it's crazy. Like, other people that didn't go to William Penn, they know the stories of how it went down at Penn. They be like, oh, Penn's dirty. They shooting at Penn, da-da-da. Y'all know what goes down in our school, so don't play games that all this saying like y'all didn't know Penn was that school. Like if you didn't like, I'm gonna put it like this way, right? Penn is different the way it was now. Back in the day, like you could really get into things if you really wanted to. Like it was very more lackadaisical. You know what I mean? So I think Penn has that illustrious, mysterious background behind it because the outsiders don't know, but they hear the stories. Like, yo, y'all heard about what happened at Penn last night? They was fighting.
I went to Penn. Yeah, we heard about that.
Yeah, exactly. Like Newark, Newark was like Penn's little brother. Like, Penn was here. Shout out to all my guys that went to Newark High, man. But Newark High, Penn was here, and then Newark was right here. Newark was like the little stepbrother that, and then you had the little cousins like Christiana, Glasgow. They were the little cousins that used to run around. Nobody even knew where they was at. Nobody cared for them.
Yeah, I don't think nobody like Glasgow. Even Glasgow don't like Glasgow.
Like, shout out to everybody that graduated from like the Delaware like high schools, because if you think about the education that we got, y'all. Let's get into it. I'm trying to take over the podcast. Sorry, Yeah, I know I'm a Leo.
Yeah, you over here trying to take our job. Sheesh. You want an application?
I know, but someone mentioned I knew a guy who was like working at like the Department of Labor in Delaware. He was just like, yo, like the people that I be like talking to and like working with their claims and stuff, like they're not the brightest. He was from Philly. He's like, they're not the brightest. Like, let me look up y'all like high school scores and educations and like reading levels. Man, we was low. Like,
Really?
we was very low on there. So shout out to everybody who's doing big things and graduated from, a Delaware high school that isn't like a charter school, like William, like what's it called?
But then hold on, we got to put the perspective on it, right? When we went to school, they enacted, like, I think 2003, George Bush enacted the No Child Left Behind Act. Yeah. So that was a thing where they had the standardized testing. Even if you failed the standardized testing, you still could pass and move on to the next grade. Because I remember when standardized testing used to be something where if you didn't pass, you was getting left back. You was getting retained. You was gonna be that dummy that was damn near 30 in fourth grade because you couldn't pass the test. When that law got passed, they started pushing people along. Yeah. Like, all right, we'll just float you. You don't meet the minimum, but you kind of below average, but we'll float you anyway. So when you got to high school, you could see the disparities in other individuals because they just got floated. They got passed. They met the below average, but close to the median, the minimum requirements, and they just got floated along.
Yeah, trying to get them kids up out of there. That's all. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, if you want, it's public school. I mean, it's public school. Like, nothing wrong with public school.
Schools are not built the same. Like I grew up when I was growing up in Connecticut. Like we had amazing public schools. Like when I moved to Delaware in middle school, like I think like seventh grade, I started school in Delaware. They were like 2 grades behind me. Like I was reading books in 7th grade in Delaware middle school that I read in like 5th grade or 4th grade in elementary school. That's how behind Delaware was. They're public schools. And then let's get into it. Like I believe if I'm not mistaken, Delaware was like the last state to desegregate their schools. I don't know if this is I'm pretty sure that's a historical fact. Because someone once asked me like, yo, why does Delaware have so many high schools, right? And it was, I really believe it's because like they were the last state to desegregate their schools. So what happened was like they started to like bus all the in-town kids to the Newark area, and then they try to bus like, the Newark, opposite people to the Wilmington area, and then that's how we got, no doubt, a little bit of the mix and the mashup. But then after they did that switcheroo, I think the public schools probably started to decline because the white people was like, I'm not, I'm gonna put my money into Wilmington Charter.
Or Sally, or
you know what I'm saying? I gotta put my money and whatever. And then they started moving, over to the area codes that kind of, I don't know, y'all, but I'm just saying this to say it was a shock to myself and my family when we moved to Delaware and we realized these public schools was trash. So shout out to everybody who made it and are successful after graduating from a Delaware public school, because if you look online, they're not great. So that's what
I mean, if we're going to talk about like educational, the best public school in Delaware, best school district is Appoquinimink. If we're talking, and that's a new, that came alive. I want to say probably like our junior, anywhere from our sophomore to junior year in high school. That's a new district. You know what I mean? Like they're blowing it out the water now. Like everybody wants to be a part of the Appoquinimink school district.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, brand new school district. You know, what I'm saying?
brand new money, brand new money.
And the area over there isn't bad either. Like I don't know if they was getting many kids from like the city like that. You know what I mean? I don't know if they was going all the way out yonder.
Nah, they can't. Like even where I live in Middletown, and I live literally right over the St. George's Bridge. That's still colonial school district. Appoquinimink, you have to live like a mile down the road. Southern where we live at. Then that's part of Appoquinimink school district. So the way they draw
southern, like where at? You talking about closer to
like a mile away from where I live. Going towards more into Middletown.
Gotcha.
That's Appoquinimink School District, or that's Middletown School District. So it's weird how they draw the county line. So you really got to do your research when you move or when you try to look for a place, because if it's really close where you're gonna be from Colonial to Appoquinimink School District. So you know what I mean. But okay, Dr. Barnes, dive in more into your background. Let's you talked about the high school, we got into a little tidbit, everybody know that.
We got into a little tidbit. I don't know. We can edit that out, but I just
wow. That stuff is staying in here.
That's all we need to do. No, I'm saying. But yeah, so I went to Newark High School. I know y'all gonna ask me like, oh, when did you know you wanted to become a doctor? Blah blah blah. When I was in high school, I really wasn't even thinking of my career. This is just me being completely honest. I wasn't thinking of my career until my guidance counselor came to me probably like, junior year, like talking about college and stuff. She was like, yeah, you really need to, your grades are amazing. Like you could probably get into like really great colleges. You need to start thinking about like what career path you want to, do, right? So I was like, all right, I'm just going to choose the career path that make me the most money, right? That was my thought process. I'm gonna keep it real funky with y'all. Like I really was like, okay, let me just see what's gonna make me money. Originally, I wanted to go into real estate. I honestly remember as a child or like teenager saying, oh, I want to be just like Donald Trump. I recall, I know, now, bite myself in the butt for that. I was like, yeah, I want to be like Donald Trump. I want to own all these like real estate. I'm about to own hotels. That's like, this is me like 10th, 11th grade Blair thinking like well ahead into the future and what I wanted to do. And then, I don't know, like all of a sudden it hit me maybe as I was applying 12th grade year, that like I kind of like science, like that kind of intrigued me. And then I was like, hey, maybe I'll go into medicine. Like maybe I'll do something in the medical field. I didn't know 100% that I wanted to be a doctor, but like my mind was like leaning me more towards sciences, medicine, etc. So that's kind of where that came from. Got into UD. I specifically chose to go to University of Delaware because, like I said, I was raised by a single mom. I saw, how she was struggling with my brother. He went to like Virginia State. He went to a lot of he was an out-of-state college. It just was really hard on her. So I was like, you know what? Let me stay in state, be smart with my money, and try to get an education for at least a decent price. So that's kind of where that was. And I just so happened to stumble upon a flyer from the University of Delaware from their medical laboratory sciences department, right? I had no idea what medical laboratory sciences was, but I read through the pamphlet and I realized, oh, this is pretty dope. Like I could see myself doing this. Did some more research, kind of realized like I wanted to go into medicine and become like a medical doctor. And realized like this would be a great stepping stone into the career of medicine, right? So medical laboratory sciences, if nobody really knows what that is, it's like basically the people in the lab in the hospital who run your specimens and kind of help with the diagnosis of disease by just running the tests, helping the doctors in the hospital make clinical judgment based on running specimens. So that's what I got my undergraduate degree in from the University of Delaware. And that's where I met my girls. That's where I met Matt's wife, Judea. And that's where I met like my clique. We were all in school together and that's where we all got our degree in. And I don't know if you know this, Matt, all of us wanted to become doctors at that point. So this is us. We're freshmen, right? In college. I was the only one who was medical laboratory sciences. So me, I think Ju, Simone, maybe Amanda, everybody was like biology, even Mavis and like all of them. Everybody was like biology, but then, pre-med was pretty difficult. As a pretty difficult path. Like everybody's going through chemistry, failing exams. Like it was a hard, like it was very difficult undergrad, like realizing, oh, this stuff is hard. You really gotta study like all day.
I could imagine.
Working to really pass classes. So everybody was thinking like, man, like, what if I don't make it? Like I need like a plan B. Me, I already had the plan in the works, and we'll talk about this a little bit later when we start to get into like the, how faith played a role into like, my journey to medicine. But I already had my plan B. I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna go into medical laboratory sciences. If I don't become a doctor, I at least have this to fall back on. So I put my girls on, of course, and they were just like, yeah, I'm gonna do the same thing, blah, blah, blah. So Simone hopped on, Judea hopped on, Amanda hopped on. That was my core crew in school. And then, you know, we all got our degrees together. Somewhere along the way, we kind of like, I worked. We all worked in a lab. Let me be specific. We got our degrees and we all worked in a lab at Christiana, to be specific. Different labs, but we all worked in the lab at Christiana. And we were all working on our own thing at the time, right? So I was still taking classes because let me get into this. So for med school, you need like your pre-med requisites, right? Let me say this too. To go to med school, you don't have to major in biology. You don't have to major in a core science. You don't have to do any of that. You just have to take your prerequisites. The prerequisites to like medicine or going into medical school are like biology, chemistry, I think biochemistry, organic chemistry. Like you just have to fit those in somewhere. I know people who were English majors and they went on to go to medical school. I know people who were like political science majors and went on to go to medical school, etc. So let me dispel that myth. You don't have to go into a very difficult or rigorous major such as like chemistry and biology to go into to get into medical school. No, you just have to get your prerequisites done. So anywho, I graduated and I was working at the time because, you know, I had to pay for school. I already kind of went into how my mom was a single mom and I had to, you know, make sure I could pay for my schooling. And if anybody knows me, I started every semester at UD late because I could never pay my bill on time. Shout out to Lisa. Shout out to wherever I was working because I literally would have to go to my professors. And now I have no shame. I used to have to email my professors and say like, hey, like, can I sit in on your class even though I'm not enrolled? Like this, it was a struggle, y'all. Can I sit in on your class? Because I know I'm not enrolled, but I didn't have enough money to pay my tuition. Those were literally the emails that I was sending. This is how I'm trying to tell you. I used to go into the CBC, the Center for Black Cultures, what we had at UD, like crying to with Miss Kelly at the time, like, oh, I can't pay my bill, da 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 da. And she used to always kind of give me like tips on how to like email these professors and let them know like, yeah, hey, I'm working on it. Can I like sit in on your class? So I say this to say like, you know, it was a struggle. Like I really was determined to make something of myself and I did just that. So I'm kind of rambling, but yeah, where was I, y'all? Okay, I graduated, right?
Yeah.
Graduated. So we all wanted to become doctors. Me, Simone, Amanda, Judea. We all graduated and it was still on our minds, right? But we all had to think about how we was gonna get there. None of us had all our prerequisites because med lab sciences was a really rigorous like major. The last 2 years of college, I remember like, yo, we was really in the lab. We was really in the lab all day and really studying all day, like tests every week. It was really intense. But I will say it really prepared me for medical school. So I'll say that. So I went on to finish my prerequisites while working in the lab, and then we'll get to the Mcat. I think Judea, she was like taking some time off. Simone had a bunch of weddings to get into, but you know, I don't got no friends like that. So they were my only friends. Y'all was like the only wedding that I was invited to. Like, let's be honest. So I had nothing to do but to focus on my career and dreams and aspirations. So that's really what I did. I got it done. Took 2 years off. So it took me 2 years from graduating to finish my prerequisites, study for my Mcat, and then, you know, get into med school, etc. So I ended up doing that. And I started med school, I think in 2017. Dang, I'm getting old. Dang, I'm getting old.
Tell me about it.
I know y'all falling asleep.
No. You good? I'm good.
We're
taking everything in
right now.
Yeah, I'm taking everything in. So hold on. All right. So I'm about to fire some shots at you real quick. So, the Mcat, you know what I mean? You didn't explain what that is. Can you elaborate on what that is? Because the audience and the viewers and the young listeners that know that want to be a doctor, they need to know what the Mcat is.
Absolutely. So the MCAT is one of those terrible standardized tests that you have to take
Not
if you
terrible.
want to become a medical doctor. Um, it's a terrible exam. It's a terrible exam. And I was watching like Nicole's episode and how she was saying how statistically, like, you know, Black people, we don't perform as well as our counterparts, etc.
No.
And that goes back, that's on like every standardized test. And there's just, it just is what it is. Like, it has to do with the verbiage, the vocabulary, the vernacular, and then like also like our perception of how we're gonna do. Like, we've learned about all of those things in school, and it just is what it is. You kind of just have to really sit down, work hard, and get through it. It's going to be a terrible study experience. I remember crying every day, thinking I was gonna fail. And I honestly ended up not doing like the best. Like, I did probably what was my score? Because the scoring has changed. You know how like they changed the scoring and stuff. But when I took my MCAT, they had just changed the test, right? They just changed the scoring of the test. So, you know, like when they change the scoring of the test, like the first 2 rounds of testing, like they're kind of very lenient on the scores. It just so happened, and I thank God that I took it like I was one of the first people to take the new test, because they were just trying to figure out the curve. So I did okay. I think I did like 210, 211 or something around there, which is at that time, like anything above a 210 was like, you okay. But anything below that, or even like below a 200 is like, yeah, like you will have a difficult time getting it. So I think I did somewhere around there. And I even paid to retake the test because I was like, there's no way I'm getting in with this. Like, I had a few C's on my transcript. Like, we can get into that. And I was like, there's no way I'm gonna get in with this. I actually paid for another test. The morning that I was gonna go take my second MCAT, I literally called the testing center like, I'm not coming. I could not sit through that second test. The first test was so terrible. Like, you're literally sitting in the room. If anybody's taking a standardized test, you know, like it takes the life out of you to sit for that test.
It's the worst. And can you elaborate on the cost? Because I know with the LSAT, that's like a $450 test. The MCAT, is it similar in pricing? Like $300 to $400?
It's a couple $100. Yeah, it's a couple $100 to like take the test, and then also the prep work for the test. Like, so the thing about it is like now they're getting real crafty, right? And it's like good and bad because they have like really good resources to help you study for these standardized tests. But I think I paid almost like $1,300 in like prep for this test. Like, I ordered I tried to study on my own. It wasn't working because, you know, I got like ADD or whatever. Undiagnosed, y'all, but like I can diagnose myself now because I'm a doctor, right? You see how that works?
They said that's not good. Never diagnose yourself.
No, but like I literally have a very short attention span, and this is America, so it is what it is. So I had like, and I was working at the time.
This is America. What the heck?
Hello, it is 2021. Like, come on now. So like I had a difficult time, like, you know, studying on my own and then like working and just like really optimizing my study. And so I paid a lot of money for like just prep work and like coursework. Like I had like to take a class like every day. It was online, and then pay for the books, and I paid for a tutor. I like literally did all this stuff, and it altogether it was like well over $1,000 just to study for this test and pay for this test. Wow. So it's very expensive. If I was not working, like, I don't know where I would have gotten the funds to kind of, you know, pay.
You know, and just to piggyback, right? When we had our interview with Nicole Stokes, shout out to the co-reality. She talked about like how Black people we have that stigma of I'm just gonna bunker down and do my best, and we kind of fall victim to scoring low because we don't pay that extra money, or we don't have that $1,000 or $1,400 or $2,000 to invest in those prep courses, the books, the study time, a tutor, all those things. So you doing that kind of, you're an exemption from the rule because you actually said, nah, I'm gonna do what I can to kind of score well and actually get into medical school on a decent score, because, you know, bunkering down and studying, yeah, that's great, but it's like if you look at all the other counterparts that are taking these tests, they already in the prep courses. They got a doctor in the family. They already been trained and all that. So you coming from a single mother, you taking that test, you kind of having that strive and that initiative and that ADD, it really shows the type
we're
person.
not gonna do the ADD now. I was just playing. I was just playing.
It helped. It helped in the process. That's what it did.
That's an extreme accomplishment, because you really, if you were a statistic, but you turned into an accomplishment. So you really beat the odds, because if you do the statistics on coming from a single mother and being a doctor and being a Black female, the numbers are pretty poopy. You know what I mean? To succeed, but you did it great. You did it very well, and you did it with a strong support system. You did it with the grace of God, and it just shows the type of person, the type of caliber you are. And I think that, you know, the listeners listening, you know, the young women listening, the young men listening that want to get into that medical field. You know what I mean? Everybody has a shot. You know what I mean? Everybody got a shot in the dark. It's just a matter of how you maneuver in the dark to get to that light to kind of succeed. And I think you're a great example of that, you know, just to throw that caveat in there.
Thanks, man. No, I definitely agree. And then to go off of that, like, I think that, you know, as Black people in general, we're really hard on ourselves when it comes to these standardized tests. But think about like our, you know, people of not our race, let's say, they don't have to work just to pay for these resources. Like they have the funds from their family, and they just, all they need to do is like sit down and study, and they can get all the money in the world. All the support in the world, like you were saying, like, you know, their dad was a doctor or their brother, so they have someone guiding them on how to, you know, take this test and like what to use. And I was literally online researching, like, how do I study for the Mcat? What am I supposed to use? I was going in there blind. So I think we're really hard on ourselves, but we're really starting from scratch. Like, I didn't really have an example. I have an aunt, a great aunt, like my grandfather's sister, who's an anesthesiologist. She's over in California though. But like, we're not super duper close. Like, I saw her a few summers out of my life, but I'm not on a talking every day basis.
So you couldn't milk her for no information.
Exactly. Like, I could probably call her, but like, it would be weird because like, we don't talk all the time. Like, so I really still, even though I had that example in the back of my mind, like I knew someone who was an anesthesiologist and who was a female doctor, which kind of probably fueled like, my confidence and like willingness to work hard and like thinking that I could actually do this. But I didn't have anyone's help. I didn't have anyone's guidance. My mom had no idea how to support me in this. We could talk about that too. I was just literally out here by myself. And then I also didn't have my girls no more. So think about it. I'm in undergrad. It was me, Ju, Simone, Amanda, like in the trenches. We was really studying. We supported each other. We studied every day together. Like, it wasn't a day that went by that we didn't really study and support each other. And here I am out here, like now kind of sort of on my own a little bit, trying to figure this out. And I didn't have Simone like making me study, and like, it was a different experience, but I got through it. So
yeah, it's so being an adult sometimes.
So let me ask you all both a question, right? Because you guys are both Black Americans, right? You guys are not foreigners, correct? You guys are not immigrants, right?
I'm not from here, sorry.
What? Where you from?
No, I'm saying your families are, you're Black Americans, so you guys were born in the United States. Your families were born in the United States, right? You can trace your lineage.
I told you that. I'm not from here, bro.
Oh, wait, we get here. Where you from?
Where you from, brother?
All right, but yeah, so what happened?
Wow. No, Joe, let's get into it. Are you Caribbean?
If we really, if we really technically being honest, I don't know. My parents don't know where they really from. We could be from.
Right.
I think
I'm saying like
Matt knows I'm playing with him.
He messing with.
Okay. Yeah. I was just like, wait, but yes, man, I'm a Black American. My mom's from the Bronx. My dad, he from Oakland. Like, so.
Oh wow.
The Bay Area. So, all right, let me ask you guys this question, right? Because, I think, we know people that's from like the island and stuff like that, and foreigners, and I kind of respect, their work ethic when they come and everything like that. And we can even shout out like the Africans that come from like Nigeria and they become doctors and everything like that. Do you think that as, Black Americans, right? Because I consider myself a Black American because, I was born in America. My parents is from Haiti, but I'm Americanized. So do you think that if we had that work ethic that our African brothers and sisters or our Haitian brothers or our Jamaican brothers and sisters had when they come to this country and they do that work ethic, do you think they would change Like, do you think we would succeed more when it comes to those standardized testing, when it comes to like succeeding and getting a career that's paying you a lot of money? Or do you think that's just something that is kind of like case by case basis?
I'm really sighing. I honestly, I've had this discussion many times, and I have to really explain to people, because like there's this like misconception that like Black Americans are lazy and we don't work hard. And I get this a lot from, and this is just how foreigners view us, right? We're lazy, we don't work hard, blah, blah, blah. I'm a very emotional person, so I don't want to get emotional, but like I hate having this conversation. We're not lazy, but like we're a product of our environments, right? And not to say, like, honestly, think about how they dismantled the Black family in America, right? The Nigerian people that I know, the West Indian people that I know, well, maybe not West Indian, but let's start Nigerian. Let's start with the African people that I know. They usually come from 2-parent households where education is like really like high up on their list. Like education is like almost everything to them. Like without education, like, you know, they wouldn't be in trouble. Like growing up, education was instilled in them. It was beaten into them. Like, you guys need to succeed and become something, you know, of value, like a doctor, a lawyer, things like that. We can go back to the beginning of this interview when I told you I didn't even think of a career until someone told me I had to. Like, I didn't even think of that. Like, my mom wasn't pushing the issue. She was a single mom, like, you know, struggling, trying to make it. She wasn't telling me I had to be anything. She wasn't telling me like I needed to make sure I got good grades. She didn't really instill that in me. So where am I trying to go with this? I'm just saying this to say, like, I didn't have many examples of what I could be growing up. I had that one example. And I didn't have anyone telling me that, you know, education was very important. I didn't have anyone so I was still working hard, for what I wanted. But I feel like I don't like when people kind of try to stereotype Black Americans as being lazy and like not hardworking. Because like, you have to think of all we've gone through. I have to tell like the people in the West Indies, like, y'all didn't have Jim Crow. Like, let's be honest. Like, y'all had your own type of, like, you know, segregation, etc. But like, y'all didn't have to really go through what we went through in America. Like, it was different. Like, after slavery was over, like let's say in like the Caribbean area, and I could be wrong. Somebody could come back on the podcast and be like, Blair was completely wrong, blah, blah, blah. I could be wrong. Maybe I need to do some more reading, but I'm pretty sure y'all didn't go through like Jim Crow like we did. And the effects of Jim Crow and how the systemic racism in America that kind of dismantled the Black family. Like, I feel like those things did not happen really outside of America. And so like, it's kind of like the rose that grew from concrete. Like, think about, I don't even know, y'all.
No, I feel exactly what you're saying, because me and Dot was having this conversation before, and I forgot what the context of it was, but I got on the topic of pretty much saying, you know, it's kind of hard to change a mindset when there's, you know, our culture has been through, especially in America, is, you know, you've been through so much stuff. And it happens generation after generation after generation. Exactly. And it's hard to break that if you have nobody around to show you how to study or, you know, what it takes to be successful. That just doesn't happen like that within our culture. Now it's starting to change, thank goodness. But you know, it's still a work in progress. So yeah, don't sell yourself short. I know exactly what you mean.
Thank you. Joe came in and helped me out because I was trying to make a point.
You were making a good point, and let's reiterate. I never said Black Americans were lazy. That's not. I never said that.
No, I didn't say that. You said that, but I often hear that.
And I think that comes from like, that's a West propaganda. That's like the dominant society's propaganda of Black folks. Because you gotta understand, they want division. They don't want us to, like, even when you talk to people like people from Africa or people from Haiti, when they come here. Like their main thing is like, all right, don't interact with Black Americans because they're this, that, and the third. And those are negative negative constructs that were created by West propaganda. You know what I mean? So let's dispel it now. So you went to med school, right? Was your undergrad paid for, or you had loans on that?
Loans and working, and I still got undergrad debt.
What about med school? You had loans or you had scholarships on that?
Loans. Can I tell you how much debt I got?
Yeah, go ahead. We'd love to hear that. Actually, Sleepy Joe would love to hear it as well.
I have $300,000.
Oh, wow.
Excuse me?
Yep, $300,000 worth of debt. Let's get into it.
Let's talk about it.
That is never getting paid off.
God damn. Do you want to be?
It'll get paid, and then like if so.
$300,000. A lot of money. Negro, that's a house.
I think the average is supposed to be like maybe like 150 to 250.
But for med school, for going to med school?
Yeah, for med school, like undergrad, like all your like debt combined. But yeah, I mean, I had to take out money to live while I was in med school. Because so the way it works is like, so med school is like at least 80 grand a year. Like 40, it's like, no, not at least. Let me be correct. 40 grand a year to like 40 to 80 grand a year.
Depending on the school you go to?
Average, yeah, depending on what school you go to. It's usually 40 grand a year for like in-state. Like that's pretty average. But think about, I went to school out of state. So it was like probably like 60 grand a year. Then you add on all the other fees and et cetera. That's 80 grand a year. Then you add on the loans that I needed to take out to live. That's 100 grand a year. Almost. So it's like, that's like 90, something $1,000 a year.
You know, it's crazy. I'm thinking in my head, like, you know, I got me some student loan debt, $64,000, because I went to graduate school. That ain't shit compared to what you got.
Yeah, I got hundreds of thousands of dollars a day.
You wipe your butt with $64,000. That ain't shit.
Basically. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and this is just my specific case. Like, I didn't have like really that much financial help, and so I needed to take out those extra loans to live. Like I needed all that money. I still didn't pay off my undergrad loans. Like I didn't pay them off because I was, like I said, like when I took the 2 years off, I was still in school, so I was able to defer them. So I really didn't pay those loans off. And then I ended up going to a private institution out of state.
It's even more money.
Can you shout out the medical school that you went to?
I went to Cooper Med School of Rowan University in Camden, New Jersey.
Camden County, shout them out.
Yes, sir. So
right in the hood.
Right in the hood, absolutely. Absolutely, it's a newer med school, and we can get into that. I'll let the people know what med school was like for me.
Yeah. So let's tie into that, right? Because I wanted to ask you, like, what's your best memories of med school and what's your worst memories of med school?
Phew. I experienced a lot of
racism.
I did experience racism, I would say. More like microaggressions, like not like overt racism, but like
the Wahiti love doing that.
Yeah. So I would say like microaggressions. You know, other people experience like overt racism. But I think it was just like me dealing with like my financial struggles, my personal struggles, and then having to go to my place of learning and it not being a conducive learning environment, having to deal with those microaggressions, having to explain myself. It just became a lot for me. And I went to a smaller school. It was a newer med school, it was a smaller med school, and they didn't necessarily have, you know, all those big, they weren't like politically correct all the time. I'll say that. Like they didn't have, even though they were of Rowan University, like they were Cooper, so they had like their own faculty, etc. And I just think that they didn't address certain things, you know, the way that, you know, I would have liked. But, you know, everything's a learning process. Usually when things were addressed, they were pretty good at kind of coming around and, you know, reissuing a statement, etc. But yeah, there were times where I felt like alone. In my class, there were only two, I would say, Black Americans in my class, and then the rest of the like the rest of the like Black people were like either like African or West Indian or Caribbean, whatever. So I also had a difficult time with that because I was just like having a difficult time relating to someone. And not to say that I can't relate to my, West Indian people, my African folks. But when I go to them and tell them like the hood stuff that's going on with my family, they looking at me like, what?
Yeah, they're not. It's just not. Yeah, it's a culture. It's a culture shock.
It's definitely a culture shock. So like when I was going through stuff with my family, and I was just explaining it, like I really didn't have anyone to talk to, so that became a struggle as well. So I went through kind of a lot in med school, personally, financially, because you just poor. You get out loans to live, and then you can work on the side when you have time, but you don't really have that much time. Wow. So it was a struggle. It was honestly a struggle. I went through some like traumatic things during that time as well. So it probably had a lot to do with all that I went through, but I made it through. Med school is probably the hardest thing that I've done in my entire life. And the reason why I say it is because it's like almost torture. Like you literally have to
hold on. You just did a crazy person laugh when you just laughed right now.
I know, like, because I'm thinking about
that was a sinister laugh.
Because just thinking about like I actually got through it. Like you have to sacrifice so much to go through med school. And Simone's in med school now, she'll probably attest to this. You have to sacrifice relationships. You have to sacrifice like your self-care. Like you have to sacrifice a lot. Like you literally are studying all day in and out. And then you have to deal with all these like external things, and you can't even process them because like your exam is coming up, and then your career is on the line, and your grades matter. It was a lot. But
I ask you this question.
Yeah, what's up?
When you're trying to balance so much, school, work, studying, friendships, how did you manage to get through that mentally? And are you back yet? Because I'm sure it took you places.
I'm a work in progress. I have to say I was the most depressed in my entire life when I was in med school.
Holy shoot.
The most depressed in my entire life when I was in med school. It can really get to you. Anybody who like goes into higher education, you're at that vulnerable age where things are changing. Your friends are advancing. Like your friends are advancing, like people getting married, people having kids, and you sitting here stuck in school. Like you sitting here stuck in school, have to study, gotta miss birthday parties, gotta miss like significant life events that you can't attend. It really is taxing on your mental health. And I'm just being completely honest. And I think that a lot of people who go through medical school and maybe even law school can attest to this. I will say I think med school is a little bit. We go through, I think, a little bit more than law school.
Oh, shoot. Yo, lawyers listening, people in law school, come on. Debater.
Let them come on here and be real. Like, I'm not going to say all they do, but, I'm not even going to talk to, I'm not even going to talk to, like, what they do. I'll let them tell it themselves. But I think they'll come on here and say, yeah, like, I had friends in med school and they were working way harder than I was. And right. I think that's just the truth. Like we're studying all day, we're in the hospital all day, like, and then on top of that, we're studying for all of our board exams. Like it's just a lot. Yeah. It's just a lot. And then our curriculum is 4 years versus their 3. Like, come on now.
School is 3 years. So all right. So you talked about the negative, right? You talked about the worst moments, right?
Yeah.
What? Talk about your best moments. Let's spread some positivity. Talk about your best moments at medical school.
The best moment ever was when I graduated. Hello.
I was gonna say it had been graduation.
Yo, she was super happy when they called her name.
Yeah,
Dr. Blair Barnes.
I was so happy because I honestly did not. I knew I would make it, but like I wanted to give up so many times. Yeah. Like I knew that I would make it, but I wanted to give up so many times. I reiterate that. I was telling God all the time, like, I'm not doing this. Like, I know this is what you want me to do, but I'm done. You know how many times I had that conversation with God, like, I'm done. Like, I even tried not studying. Like I was just like, I'm not even gonna study for this exam. Maybe I'll just flunk out. Like you go through these things. Like maybe it's just me. I'm a little bit off.
No,
but
you're human. You're a human being going through a range of emotions. Yes.
Yeah. So I went through like this period where I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna do the bare minimum and see what happens. God was blessing me with A's. Like, God, how? Like, I didn't study for this. I did not study for this. How I got an A? What you like? He really showed me, like, yeah, this is what I want you to do. Because I literally, in retrospect, I probably tried everything in my power to not succeed in medical school. This is just me on my personal journey. Wow, and then I feel bad for my the faculty who may watch this, that may or may not. Because I was really going through it. I was ready to give up. And God said no. He said no every time. Every time he said no. Ain't that crazy?
That is crazy.
You about to be a doctor. And I was like, but I don't want to do this no more. Like I lost my love for medicine probably like first year of medicine. Mm-hmm. And then first year of medical school, I lost my love. I did not have a passion for it anymore. I didn't have a desire to do it. But then I was stuck, y'all. Let's talk about money. I'm already $100,000 in. How am I pay that money back?
Yeah.
How am I pay that money back? So I literally stayed in. This is me being real. I came on here to be a real one for y'all.
Yeah.
I literally stayed.
We love it. We love it.
I stayed in med school so that I could pay the debt that I owe. I was like, this is an investment. I need to reap the benefits of this investment. And I felt stuck. Like what am I gonna do? Go back work into a lab and got $100,000 plus worth of debt. And there's no way. I would have been in debt for my entire life and have a family and been struggling. So God said yes. And then I also was like, yeah, girl, you better finish so you can pay these loans.
That's right. That's right.
Exactly. But just to answer your question, man, I know I'll be rambling, but best moment was when I graduated, and also just being in the hospital with my patients and like serving my the minorities in the hospital, just to see how proud they were of me. They're like, oh, you a med student? Oh my God. Like just to see the faces of like my community, like my Black people, like their faces used to light up when they knew what I was pursuing. Mm-hmm. And when they used to say like, oh, I'm gonna come back and I can't wait till you're a doctor. And just to kind of hear how proud they were of me, people who didn't know me, but just proud that me as a Black woman was pursuing something like medicine. That's what really made me happy. And then that kind of helped me gain my love back for medicine and my passion back. Because once I got to work with my patients, and I kind of renewed, the passion that I had in the beginning. Oh, one last thing is I went on a mission trip to the Dominican Republic.
Oh, nice.
That's like a big moment. That was a big moment in my medical school career. I went on a mission trip second year of med school, right? I think, or right after first year. This is like when I went through all that stuff. I was ready to quit. Yeah. Went on a mission trip to Dominican Republic, and that's the mission trip that I got saved. The mission trip that I got saved. And just being there and being with all those people in so much poverty, and just to see how like they were so happy just to see, first of all, a person of color, a Black woman coming to help them and pursuing medicine. It really kind of renewed my passion. I was just like, this is what I do it for. I do this so that I can inspire those around me. I do this so that I can serve my community. I do this so I can be an example for those coming after me. And on that mission trip, besides the fact that I got saved, just me getting in, having to deal with those types of patients, it really like kind of reaffirmed why I went into medicine in the first place. I was able to put aside all the stress of studying and all that stuff I was going through, and like with the academics, and I was able to kind of really just like streamline, like, yeah, this is what I did it for in the first place. I want to serve my community. So
that's awesome. Right. Yeah, the rewards weighed more than all the BS that you had went through prior to. I get it. Yeah, I like that.
So a couple of things before I ask this question. Shout out to the Dominicans, que lo que.
Yes.
So that's amazing right there. That's a journey. Like that's like when you said you got saved. Yeah, that's a journey right there. That's a spiritual Christian journey right there. That's amazing. So, and then you tied into a lot of it. But I'm about to ask you this question, right? So, do you think that now you're a doctor, right? A Black woman, professional.
Yeah.
Do you think you owe it to your community to kind of be the best version of yourself? You follow what I'm saying? As a doctor, as a Black woman, do you owe it to them to kind of excel and succeed as a doctor and also help your community in different ways? Whether that's, y'all can hit me up for, not medical exam, but like advice or certain things, or like, you need to do this, that, and the third, even though that's out of the realm of what you matched in, what you're actually going for. Like a lot of people, I know you're in a residency program for anesthesiology, which is totally different than like being a general doctor or being a pediatrician or being a family doctor. It's totally different, but you still have the medical knowledge that you're required to have to kind of answer basic questions. Do you owe that to your Black community?
I feel like I have a responsibility. I have a responsibility to my Black community to inspire, to help, to engage, to enlighten, to educate. That's my responsibility. I should be the best version of myself, but that's just not. I'm human, so like, if I have an off day, like it's a lot of pressure. I'll start with that. It's a lot of pressure knowing that like I am like one of the only doctors that some people know, Black female doctors that some people know.
And that's facts.
Yeah, that's a lot of pressure, because then they expect me to know everything and be like the best thing ever. And it's just like, I'm in here struggling just like the next intern. And sometimes even more. Like, they think that I'm just like, put up on a pedestal, and that's really not what it is. I have a responsibility to my community, yes, to be a resource to them. But as far as like, my greatness and things like that, I feel like that's more a personal thing. Like, that's like my own journey to have. My development, my growth, my success is like all determined by myself. And that should not interfere with how I help my community.
Right,
so
absolutely.
I'll leave it at that.
Okay, perfect. I love that answer.
Well said.
Yeah.
So let's hop into the current events, and then we can tie into, you can talk about your relationship with God and Christ, and how that bettered you as a person, and how you came to be how you are now, because you talked about you being saved, but also talk about that experience and how it transforms you into completing medical school. So let's talk about the current events right now, right? So BBLs.
Oh my gosh.
It's for all the ladies that listen to our podcast. Brazilian butt lifts.
Actually a lot too. So
that's a lot.
To the women.
Yeah, shout out to the women, the Black women and the people of color, women that listen to our podcast. We love y'all, and we thank you for the support, because a lot of people don't know, a lot of the guests we've had, we always reiterate this, but they've been women. They've been Black women that come on, women of color that come on, that are very friendly and very inviting, and they really bring this podcast up. So we just want to shout y'all out. We love y'all, all the guests that we've had. Thank y'all. We appreciate y'all. We always want to shout y'all out. It's always a lot. Y'all doing amazing things, and keep that up. And we always gonna show y'all love. But so let's talk about the BBLs, right? Because I think society now, right? You know what I mean? Even though you're not in that plastic surgery realm, you do know about it. I know you know about it, and you know the statistics on it, right? So BBLs, right? Brazilian butt lift, right? And I used to watch this one show on I think it was on like E or something. It was like two plastic surgery doctors botched. And they would always reiterate to the ladies, like, yo, this surgery is one of the dangerous surgeries you can have. There's adverse risk and long-term effects that can happen if you do have this surgery, right? There's pre and post surgery effects that can happen, right? So can you elaborate on that, and can you talk about how society is like portraying that as the ultimate goal for women now? If you got $5,000-$10,000, you can go to Colombia, Mexico, and get that done. Dominican Republic, get that done, and then you can. That's boom. You're a social media influencer now when you get that done. Can you elaborate on that? Being a woman, being a Black woman, you know what I mean? Can you elaborate on that?
I will elaborate on it. Being a Black woman and part of the little booty community. My little booty makes us here.
Little booties matter. I tell people all that.
Matter. Play the song in the background.
I tell my wife that all the time. I told you that all the time. Little booties matter now. I don't need you to go get that dangerous stuff.
They matter. I have to say, like, before like I embarked on my medical journey, like I've thought about BBL a time or two, but I was just like, because like think about it in the media now. Like you're told like, oh, if you don't have a big butt, like you don't have a nice body. Like if you don't have a big butt, then like I don't know why they put this out in the media like that. But to speak to what you're saying, I will say like as a woman, you know, it's your body. You should do whatever makes you happy. I'm not gonna say, you know, if this is really an issue for you, like do all the research that you can and make a sound decision. But just make sure you do your research and pick a good surgeon, and things like that. But as far as the safety and the risk of this particular surgery, I know you said exactly what they said on the episode. This is one of the most dangerous elective plastic surgeries that I think, if not the most dangerous, just because of the location of the surgery and the risk of something what we call like a fat embolus. So basically, how the BBL is basically they remove fat from one part of your body, usually the stomach, arms, or whatever, and then they'll pump fat into you know, your buttocks area. And they'll also do like, you know, little nip tuck incisions, lifts, whatever. I don't know the specifics of like there's different ways to do it, but like that's just like the framework of the actual surgery. But think about doing the risk to any surgery are infection, bleeding, damage to the surrounding organs and vasculature, and then like, you know, things like blood clots and things like that. But this particular surgery, first of all, it's a surgery around one of the dirtiest areas in the body, the butt. The butt's so dirty. Doo-doo come out of there, y'all. Like I'm not even being politically correct, but you know what comes out of there. Mm-hmm. It's in a very like dirty area. Even we can clean it. They can clean it as much as they want, but it's very hard to be like get it completely sterile. And then think about it. You're defecating out of that area after you've had a major surgery and you haven't.
I didn't even think about that. That's true.
Think about it. You're leaking. You have drains. Like there's a high risk of infection with this particular surgery. And also what we discussed earlier, they're pumping fat into the buttocks area. I mean, there's a risk of what we call a fat embolus. So basically what happens is like the fat can embolize, meaning like a clot of fat can like embolize and it can like go to your lungs and then cause like a catastrophic event. That is like probably the worst complication of this surgery besides an infection. So it's very dangerous. And I know some people, they go through it and they do fine. But like and you also want to think about the recovery of this. Like the recovery from this surgery is not easy. It's painful. It's long. Like you have to, but like the keep up is just like a lot. You have to get like constant massages and like just so you can get your lymphatic systems going to kind of prevent all of these like stasis and kind of get all of the fluids moving down there. And then you also have to like do the upkeep because you can pump fat into an area, but like if you don't go to the gym, it ain't gonna sit up high, shawty. Like that thing going sag low. Yeah, like the exactly. So
you're gonna have a myrtle butt.
Exactly. So it's just like there's a lot that goes into this procedure, and I recommend that anybody who is considering it do your research very thoroughly, consider all the risks and benefits. Like, you know, like I said, I'm pro female, pro woman. Like if this is your body and you have autonomy, you can do what you want with it. But just think about if this is something that you actually want and if you actually need it, because you could die. You can die from this. Like, and then we have to think about BBLs versus like injections, right? So injections that's a completely different. Like that's when like people, you go to the basement, they inject in all types of random stuff in your butt. Like, you know what I mean? You heard about that. Yeah. That's like a lot of industry people used to do that back in the day, and they probably still do it.
That's what K. Michelle did, and then she had all these complications with her butt. Exactly. She had to get all that stuff removed out of her butt, and now her butt looks like it doesn't look anything near than what it was, and now she has all these like ailments and injuries because of it. Now she has to like I think she has to have a constant drainage in her, like drainage tubes in her butt, because it's disgusting.
Yeah, disgusting. You can like have abscesses that grow, which is basically like a pocket of fluid that becomes an infection. Like,
I love the medical talk.
Yeah,
feels like I'm on an episode of House.
Oh no, not the medical talk. I would say if you're gonna do it safely, and don't go to somebody's basement and have them inject God knows what into your butt, because if you inject something foreign into your body, what's your body gonna do? Reject it,
attack it, and reject it.
Exactly. So that's basically what happens. They do. I think some people inject silicone down there too. They have many things that they do that I'm not 100% familiar with. But if you're going to get a butt procedure done, please go to a licensed board certified surgeon and do your research before you go. So.
And I just want to make this clear for the women that are listening. Thank you so much, Dr. Blair Barnes, because that you put a lot in perspective, and I love that. And you applied, regular jargon with the medical knowledge. And I think a lot of people are going to listen to this and kind of understand. And I just want to say this for my wife. When you listen to this podcast, you don't need that, baby. You are perfect the way you are. You do not need a BBL. Go ahead, come downstairs to the basement with me. We go ahead and get them squats. Get that booty nice and tight. But I think a lot of it now is like, I think society, like, I don't think it's the men, like, it's not men that are telling women you need to get BBLs. I think society is portraying that, and the media is portraying that as the new golden standard of beauty, right? Because if you ask me or Smoove, do we like that on our woman? Is that something we're gonna want them to get done? We're gonna tell you, hell no, we don't want that stuff. We want our woman, men want, and I'm just speaking in generalities, right? But men want women that are like natural. Like, you can work and tone on yourself, but getting an adverse surgery that outweighs the risk and reward, it's ridiculous, and it's nonsensical.
What guys do you know?
I'm just thinking like now. I know you married. I don't know if you married, Joe. You got a woman, whatever. Mm-hmm. But y'all be checking for the big booty women. Like, y'all be like,
now,
if the big booty woman walk by,
okay.
Like, damn, that ass.
Okay, let's put that in perspective.
Hold up, man. Right? Nah. You're all right. Time out.
What do you think?
Check it out.
What you say?
Go ahead,
I'm gonna tell you.
School her right now.
I'm gonna tell you, no, because I didn't really agree with your statement either, Matt. I think guys today are so caught up in what society wants, what society deems looks good on women, so they like women to have these BBLs and all types of plastic surgery and whatever cosmetic work. I think guys like that because that's all that they see now. The joints that they see on these music videos and on their live, all that stuff. It's not natural women. These are women that have gone to get new bumpers and all types of stuff. So I was in the military, Blair. So I was around a lot of sailors.
We was around the globe seeing the big booty women. Hey.
Anyways, no, not me. I was a good guy.
Okay.
I was a good guy. Baby, shout out to you. Everything's copacetic. I was a good guy. Anyways, no, but a lot of these cats, they don't look for the natural woman. I feel like maybe older dudes like the natural woman because that's what they was accustomed to seeing growing up. Like, I feel like our generation, well, I'm almost 30. Matt's almost 30. So
we be millennials.
Yeah. So the millennials on the older end, on the older side of the spectrum, I feel like they like the ones that are more natural. That's my 2 cents. That's all I'm saying. But
all right.
So let me just say a rebuttal real quick, right? Because I think with men, right? And I'm speaking generalities. There could be anomalies in there, like we talk about, right? I'm speaking generalities. Smoove, stop shaking your head. Let me just say my rebuttal real quick.
I'm listening.
So this is general, right? Like, in general, like,
I know what the word means. I'm saying, right? Who you get? Go ahead.
So okay. So how I look at it, right? There's a big difference between like what a man will, put as his girlfriend and like end up marrying, right? And there's a difference between who he will have like intercourse or sexual relations with, right? You do you agree with that? Smoove, do you agree with that?
Yeah, but you pulling a Wayne B right now. I think
Wayne B.
Yeah, you're pulling a Wayne B right now. You moving the goalposts.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm saying like I agree with you. Society is placing that, but I don't think it's men in general. They're asking like, hey, how do you want a woman to look? Men are not saying I want my woman to have the biggest butt, and so that's what I'm trying to illustrate. I think it's just the society aspect of it, and just it's normal now. It's the normalcy of it now. You know what I mean? Seeing that, like nobody knows. Like if you ask them young boys today, they don't know what a natural woman looks like because they're so used to seeing the Cardi B's, the Nicki Minaj's, the fake booty Judies, all those type of things. And I think that kind of changes your perspective on what a woman looks like. And I agree with you on that one. But what I'm saying is that's not coming from the everyday average Joe Schmo. They're asking like, hey, how do you want your woman? You know, I mean, if you ask like just the men in our that we associate with, right? In our group chat, if you ask them, hey, how do you want your woman? 90% of those guys in that group chat are gonna say, yeah, I want my woman natural, blah, 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 this and that and the third. Am I right or am I wrong?
You're right, but that's our group of friends though. I think we are different from jump. Ask a group of cats that we went to school with, what type of joint they want. You really think they're gonna say natural?
Generally, if the guys had a preference, would they choose a girl with a smaller booty or a bigger booty? If they were equally in all other aspects, they would probably choose the girl with the larger butt.
Are we talking about natural butt or are we talking about fake butt?
Hey, Matt, do guys want to see women with a big wagon or not?
Yeah, like let's be honest. Matt.
You trying to beat around the bush, bro.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. And I'm like, let's think about this scientifically and biologically. Like, large butts are attractive, and think about it. Like, large hips, large butt, like that kind of just like is a sign of like fertility, like ancient, like if you go back to ancient times and just like biology, like it kind of shows you that, oh, this woman's fertile, she can like carry many children. So it makes sense that men are attracted to the curves of a woman. But I think what has been the issue is like society has told us if we don't have like a big butt, then we are less pretty than someone else that does. And that's been the problem, because then we think that we have to have a large butt in order to like measure up to the girl next to us with the big butt. And then in reality, everyone's body is different.
But I will say now there is a small push for that natural body goal, that natural look that's winning now. The natural hair, the natural bodies, the slim, the whatever the case may be. I think there's a push for that now. Like there's women like IG or whatever the case that are embracing that push of just embracing your natural flaws and just that positive body image type of thing. You don't have to go do this, that, and the third or whatever the case. You can be a beautiful, voluptuous woman, big and all with your flaws. Somebody's still gonna love you. Right or am I wrong? Or you can be a skinny mini. There's a man out there that's gonna love you, or a woman, or whatever you're into is gonna love you. You know what I mean? And I think society. Go ahead, bro.
I was gonna say, but in generalities, though, what these dudes want some BBLs in their life. Some of them.
I mean, I think I agree with Blair's point. They want that curvaceous woman. You know what I mean? I will say that they want that curvaceous woman. But you know what I mean?
But like by any means necessary. Like yes, they would prefer if she's natural, but if she got to get a BBL to get that big butt that they're attracted to, like they would be fine with that. And I think that's really like the general consensus. Like I think men are okay with women getting these procedures because that's what they like to look at. But they don't really take into account all the complications from the procedure. I think that people are going the more natural route because they're seeing these celebrities take out these their butt implants and getting the fat taken out of.
See that push.
But that's because they've been having complications.
Yep.
They're not like K. Michelle was I think that she was very brave in coming forward. And I think Nicki Minaj did it too. I'm pretty sure. I think she got either something taken out.
Her butt was lumpy for a minute. It was
exactly. So she had complications too. She had to go get some stuff redone. I'm not sure exactly what she did. This is just me speculating, of course. But these women are having complications. Like even Kim Kardashian, there's like speculation that, you know, she maybe had her butt reduced. Like, what, man?
Like,
but I'm
oh my
saying,
God.
I think that society is moving that way because these women, you know, they're taking out their implants and they're getting more like, you know, reconstructive surgery, whatever.
Yeah. I'm gonna make this statement because I think society, we need to start pushing people that actually make a difference in the world. Like influencers, people that do nonsense stuff. I don't want their name repeated. Like, I would rather them immortalize like doctors, lawyers, people that actually, you know, cops, firefighters, like people that actually go out and make a difference in this world that get the praise. These entertainers, man, they're not even honest with you when it comes to like their life. That's the problem. You can't even get an honest answer out of them. They wear so many different type of masks to cover up their true identity that it's like, you do the same thing as a politician, brother. You selling me this, that, and the third. I don't want to hear none of that nonsense. So I think society has to make a push to kind of, you know, get away from the immortalization of entertainers and get away and go back to the push of our people that serve this country in other ways that can't be explained. You know what I mean? I think we need to push that back to where.
I hate to be a pessimist. I don't think that's ever gonna happen.
No, it's not. It's not. But you know, we gotta show optimism in this world sometimes. You know?
I know. I think that it can happen like as a culture. Like I think that as a culture, we try to, you know, embrace you know, Black people who are doing great things, and like instead of, and not to say that entertainers are not, because they are doing great things, and but instead if we stop idolizing like the money that they have and start to kind of more focus on like, you know, people who are making changes like you're saying and are successful, I think that we would see a difference. But I honestly think that these entertainers are going to keep making money. We're going to still keep giving it to them, whether they're doing right or wrong.
So let's talk about the flu, the vaccines, and everything like that. Like, how do you feel about that being a medical doctor? And I know you guys take the Hippocratic oath, you know, swear to do no harm. You know, how do you feel about that? You know, and struggling with your own personal beliefs in regards to vaccines and being vaccinated, and you know, trying to tell your patients like, hey, I think this is the perfect route for you, but then, you know, also struggling like, man, maybe if I was in a situation, maybe I wouldn't take that, blah blah blah. So how do you go about that with that personal struggle?
This is a very loaded question. This is a very loaded question. And then this is what I want to say. It would be the worst thing in the world for me if someone I loved did not get vaccinated and died from this COVID-19. You know what I mean? Like, think about if you had a way to either prevent this disease from, you know, festering in your body and manifesting in like the worst of ways, or a preventable way to make sure that the infection doesn't get as bad as it could, and you choose not to take it, and then you end up dead. Like that would be the worst. Like that would be the worst feeling in the world to me. And then think about the loved ones. Like you had the opportunity to protect yourself. You had the opportunity to protect the ones that you love, and you know you chose not to. So that's what I want to start with. Like, this is like all we have right now, in terms of, you know, helping kind of mitigate this virus. And I know everyone has their own beliefs about vaccines. I'm not here to sway anyone one way or another. My personal opinion, my medical opinion is that you should get vaccinated. That's just me. And I'm going to put that on the record and say, like, especially if you are, if you want to be outside and around people and living life like you used to live it, you should get the vaccine. And that's just for your protection and for the protection of others. And I know people are going to come on here and say like, oh, like, do you know XYZ about this vaccine? It's going to do this to you. And I've heard arguments about how it's going to, you know, it'll kill you. It'll create these proteins. It'll affect your blood. It'll do all these things. It came out too fast. And I've heard all of these things. And at the end of the day, none of these things are going to matter if you die from this virus. Like all that you told me is not going to matter if you die from this virus. Like, so I let people have their opinion. I correct them and I educate them on what I know. And then I just like leave it at that. If you want to be outside, if you want to kind of progress to some more normalcy, get your vaccine, people. I've been in the ICU, and people die from this. You should see the people on the ventilators. First of all, you should see what COVID does to the lungs. I don't know if you can look online and just look at COVID-19 pneumonia. This virus wreaks havoc on the lungs. I've never seen a pneumonia worse than this pneumonia that the COVID-19 virus caused.
Really?
It really, like, I show some of my patients that, I don't say survive, but they do well. Like, they just come in, they just need high pressure nasal cannula, and they don't need to be ventilated and stuff. I will show them their lungs, and the lungs are all white. So on the x-ray, air is supposed to be black, right? Bone is we can get into that, but with COVID pneumonia, the whole lung is white. Like, that's inflammation, that's fluid inflammation, infection. Like, I'm just trying to tell you, this virus is a deadly virus. It's killed millions of people, and it's not anything that you want for yourself or for your family. And if you can protect yourself, you should. And that's all I'm gonna say on that. I personally I don't have any personal beliefs about vaccines, I think they're gonna harm me or harm others, or whatever, cause autism, whatever. I don't necessarily believe that myself. I know people will have other evidence and say otherwise. But all I know is I've been taking vaccines forever and ever, and I'm fine. And what bothered me the most is people who complain about this vaccine and eat McDonald's. You eating McDonald's.
Speak about it. Let's speak about
it. You eating McDonald's. You eating crab legs every weekend. You drinking Henny. Come on, come on now. And then you think this vaccine gonna do something? Like, you killing your liver, you killing your kidneys. Come on now. You about pre-diabetic. You literally are killing yourself by what you're consuming, and you worry about this vaccine. Come on now. Someone who maybe is vegan and all natural and blah 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 blah, and they come to me and I'm just like, okay, whatever, that's your opinion. I respect that. But these people who are I don't want to say uneducated, because I don't want to, put everybody
the ones that are following the masses and can't think for themselves.
Exactly. The one who are just listening to what other people say, but they still are living an unhealthy lifestyle. I'm just so anywho, that's what I'll say on that. Please get vaccinated to protect yourself and your families. If you decide not to get vaccinated, I just pray that you're safe out here. Period.
You brought up an excellent point when you talked about McDonald's and crab legs and sodium and all that stuff that Black people love eating, and knowing damn well they're not supposed to eat that stuff. So do you think with the whole new culture push of embracing body positivity, is that hurting the medical field's recommendations in regards to get healthy? So, when you, because there's standards, right? There's medical standards on your weight, right? And your BMI and all that, right? And it tells you, overweight, underweight, healthy weight, overweight, obese, and then seriously obese. That's over 40% of your BMI. Do you think with what society is pushing now, are people less capable, especially in the Black community, to go and work on themselves health-wise in regards to taking vitamins, working out, everything like that? Because if they're embracing, I can be 300 pounds at 5'5", and I can just love myself. And, you can love yourself to the grave with that body weight. Is that hurting y'all in regards to recommending nutrition and everything like that? Because now people are just going to go get gastric bypasses and, or whatever, or just continue to eat without regarding medical advice. How do you feel about that push?
I'll say a few things. The more that y'all eat, the more that you're going to be pouring money into the medical system. The more that you eat, the more unhealthy you become, the more diseases you'll have, the more the increased risk you'll have of developing other diseases and comorbidities, and the more time you'll spend with my colleagues in primary care and surgery, getting your so it's just I understand people want to be body positive, but you have to be like, you have to think about, it's not just the exterior, it's the interior as well. You have to think of the body holistically. You have to be, if you're unhealthy on the inside and you like how you look on the outside, like you can't sustain that. So as far as like, is it hurting the medical community? No, y'all giving us, not me per se, but you guys keep the primary care physicians in business. Like, think about it. Diabetes, high blood pressure, like diet and lifestyle modifications, that's number one. Like these are things, like these are preventable disease, not all the time, because they could, you know, there could be a hereditary component,
right?
There could be other things like that, but like those sort of diseases and comorbidities, yeah, like these are like, I don't say they're man-made diseases, but they're preventable diseases. That's what I'll say. So like, you know, the more that you guys praise being unhealthy, the more trips you'll spend, the more trips you'll take to the doctor's office and also the emergency department. And then, you know, maybe even surgery, like you were saying, gastric bypass. So you're not hurting the medical community, you're keeping them in business. But you're, in the long run, you're hurting yourself. That's kind of where I will speak on that. And I forget, did you ask another question too? I forgot.
No, you answered it. You answered.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Nah, that was.
But yeah, that's how
I
feel about it.
Wow.
Yeah, love your body, but like love it holistically, like body, mind, soul, like spirit, whatever. You got to take care of your mental health. You got to take care of, you know, your body. You got to take care of all of that stuff. So, okay.
One of the questions that I did have for you is the common cold and the common flu still so common these days? Because and I asked that, right, because when COVID first came about, it was like even a little afterwards, you never heard about people getting a cold or a flu. It was always COVID. Even when people didn't have, I know in Spain at least, if they were sneezing, coughing, doing things that resembled a cold, they got labeled as having COVID. Are they trying to push the common cold and flu out, and it's just going to be replaced by COVID now, or what?
No, let me debunk this too. Right. Let me debunk this. Like, in no way, shape, or form does someone come to the hospital with COVID symptoms, and we're not going to say someone who comes in with cough, runny nose, all those like flu-like symptoms has COVID. Like, that's just not what we're going to do. Every time we diagnose someone with COVID, we test them for COVID. They have to have a positive test. If we have someone who comes to the hospital and we suspect them of COVID and we think that they could, you know, benefit from outpatient testing, we'll say like upper respiratory infection, must rule out COVID-19. So we'll never put a COVID-19 diagnosis on somebody who hasn't been tested positive for it. So I know that was like a little bit of something in the media, and this is just from my experience. Of course, during the pandemic, I was still in medical school, so I wasn't doing, you know, putting in the orders for like the diagnoses and stuff on people's discharge paperwork, whatever. But I wanted to debunk that. No, people, if you come in the hospital and you have flu-like symptoms, COVID-like symptoms, we're gonna test you. We're gonna test you for COVID. We're gonna test you for the flu. And whichever one you're positive for, that's the diagnosis that you'll get. To answer your other question is like the flu and the cold, the common cold, you know, is it still out there? It's still common. Like, yes, we still have people who are flu positive. We still have people who are rhinovirus positive. So what we'll do is if someone is like, comes in with those upper respiratory symptoms and they're COVID negative, we'll run like around this time when we know that the flu is kind of like, very active, we'll run like what we call like a viral respiratory panel. So we'll test for all those viruses, such as flu A, flu B, rhinovirus, all these other viruses that can kind of cause like upper respiratory infections. So I know that was like kind of a rumor in the media, like we were just diagnosing everybody with COVID-19, maybe for billing purposes or whatever. That has not been my experience in the hospital. That hasn't been my experience in the emergency department either. I will say that like, you probably didn't see as many flu rhinovirus cases around the COVID-19 pandemic because everybody was like in the house. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how do you get the flu? Like, that like it's like direct contact, right? Like fomites, whatever. And so I just think that there was like people were out less, like in less crowded areas, and they just like, weren't being as exposed to the flu. And then you think about when it started, when around the time COVID started, like what was it, March 2020?
Yeah, March
around
2020.
that time. Like that's like towards the end of flu season. So flu season is like in like fall, like through winter. Yeah. Right. And this virus kind of started to come over here like towards the end of flu season. So that's probably, I think that kind of has to do with like, that's probably like the correlation, like flu season was ending and then people were coming with these upper respiratory infections. It was more likely to be COVID-19 because the flu season was kind of dying down. Okay. But now, we're still seeing people who are flu positive, rhinovirus positive, etc. But just to kind of speak to our immunity, we have to think about it like we're used to being maskless, right? And we're used to being maskless, going around and, getting sick and spreading germs or whatever. And that's kind of how we build our immunity. We build our memory cells and whatever, develop our antibodies like Matt was talking about in the beginning. Now we have to think about what are the effects going to be on our immune system now that we are like also health conscious, like everybody washing their hands, what's it called, gel sanitizing and having these masks on. Like, how is that going to affect our immunity moving forward? And then also like our kids' immunity, right? Because at a certain age they're wearing masks in school now. Right. So you're supposed to build that immunity from like a young age, right? You're supposed to, when you remember when you were young, you got sick a lot, right? You playing with kids, dirt, germs, whatever. And the way your immune system works is you get sick the first time, your body like kind of just is like, oh no, I'm gonna remember you. So when the next time you come, like we're not playing, we finna attack you, and so that you don't get as sick as the first time. But think about our kids nowadays, like we're so like, germ conscious that, we have to think about, there's something to think about in the future, like how are their immune systems gonna be affected given that, my light done fell. Given that we are now, requiring them to wear masks and like, wash their hands 1,000,000 times a day, which, so just something to think about. I hope I answered your question.
No, you did. You did. So thank you. And I really have 2 more questions. All right.
Come on, let's get into it.
One of them is somebody that I know had a question. I told them that I was meeting with the doctor today. Okay. And they
got a rash on their foot.
What happened?
They got a rash on their foot.
Nah. Nah. But they wanted to know about the booster shot, right? Yeah. So I think what they were, and I'll tie in however I feel about it as well. But let's say with the I'm calling it the Omarion variant. I think it's called the Omicron.
You said Omarion, I'm over it.
Yeah, that John. The new strand that's out, right? People are worried about how that's going to affect them, especially the people that have received the booster shot already. Is it still smart for people? Well, for one, is it still safe to get 3 shots in a year for something that, is just freshly new into the market? And is that booster shot going to be enough to protect people from this new variant that's around? And if not, is there going to be another shot?
Those are all like very good questions. I believe, I don't know if it was Pfizer or Moderna, and they released a study that basically said that their individuals who have gotten both the doses of the vaccine plus the booster will be adequately protected against this new variant, and also I should have brought up the study. I wish I would have known you were going to ask about this new variant, but they just released a study about it. And we're saying that, the probability that the people will be protected is very high and is very promising. Now, I can't say for certain that these people will not get COVID even if they're vaccinated, because I've seen it happen.
I got COVID and I was vaccinated.
Yeah, it happens. But the best part about getting the vaccine is that like the COVID doesn't manifest as aggressively as it would have if you weren't vaccinated, right? Like I already told you what the unvaccinated patients that come in and, you know, they're in the ICU, it doesn't look good. Like the lungs look terrible. They're on ventilators, etc. So that's really the purpose of this vaccine. And I know your next question is in the booster as well, because like, you know, this is a newer vaccine, and we're kind of having to like learn as we go and like do studies as we go, see how we're responding to it, see if our immune response is adequate. And I think that's why they're providing this booster. If our immune response is like the flu vaccine, if our immune response, well, no, these are two different like kind of concepts. If our immune response isn't adequate enough to protect us from this vaccine, even after 2 doses, we would need a booster. And it's the same thing, like if you got the chickenpox vaccine when you was a child, and then you go into the medical field, like, you know, 15 years later, they'll test your antibodies, or maybe this like better examples like the MMR. Like if your antibodies are not adequate, they'll just give you a booster, right? Okay. Because like it's just everybody's different. Like if you can lose antibodies over time, your immune response may not be as robust, etc. So, you know, that's the reason why they do these studies. They see, you know, people's antibody response and how, you know, etc. And then that's how they'll determine if they need to, you know, a booster vaccine or whatever. To ask me if we're going to have to get a new vaccine every year, like the flu vaccine, I will say I'm not sure. And it is a possibility, given that, you know, there are like new variants of this COVID-19 that, you know, keep kind of manifesting. So that's like the flu, right? The flu will kind of shifts and changes proteins, and that's how it becomes different variants. COVID-19 is very similar. And these, I don't know if they can guarantee our protection against every variant. So far, they're doing studies to see if, you know, people who are vaccinated with the booster are adequately protected, and it seems promising, but like who's to say down the line, you know, the next variant, you know, we won't be protected. So I will say that it's very up in the air. What we'll have to do is keep following the data, and, you know, continue to protect ourselves. This is kind of all we have. But on top of that, just continue to keep yourself healthy. You'll do better if you are vaccinated and your body's healthy, right? You see what I'm saying? So like, yes, we have this vaccine. It's supposed to kind of help us with our immunity and fight this virus off. But if you're unhealthy at baseline, it might be a little bit more difficult, you know, the infection and also the recovery. So that's why I'm stressing, like, really take care of yourselves. You know, I know Matt talked about this a little bit earlier. Western medicine, and I am a part of Western medicine. That's the medicine that I practice. But, you know, they don't teach us a lot about preventative medicine, and it's not something that we push enough of. There are certain practices, there are certain physicians that push preventative medicine, and we'll give y'all pamphlets about it. But it really needs to start with you guys. You guys need to like research what is healthy for your body to consume, what is healthy, what kind of herbs you guys need to consume to kind of, you know, keep your immune system robust, what kind of supplements that you need to, because our food is not like how it used to be, y'all. They got pesticides on it. I sound like a conspiracy theorist, right? But I'm just being completely honest. Like, we need to give ourselves the nutrients to, for our bodies to function optimally. Does that make sense? Like, we can vaccinate ourselves, but you can be vaccinated from COVID-19 and have diabetes, high blood pressure, status quo, and like it just makes it a more difficult course when you have a lot of different comorbidities, even if you're vaccinated. I think that's kind of what I'm saying. So be healthy, get the vaccine to protect yourselves. I am uncertain about the future of these vaccines. I have to be completely honest. I'm an intern and I'm just trying to survive. And I haven't even read the latest study. But it is a possibility that we may need to get like, I guess, boosters every year, like the flu shot. That is a possibility. It seems like as if we're going in that direction, and only the studies will tell. Like we'll see if after this one booster shot, we'll be adequately protected, and our antibodies will amount the response that they're supposed to. So we'll see. To be determined. I am not in micro immunologist, so this is just me talking based off of my common knowledge and what I've learned in my experience. But yeah, that's what I'll say about that. I hope I answered your question, Smoove.
You did.
Okay.
So thank you.
Let me put in like a last minute plug. So anybody who's like absolutely thinking about going into medicine, I know I got on here and was telling everybody about my personal struggles, my financial struggles, my academic struggles, etc. But it's really by the grace of God that I'm here. I stay grounded in my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and it is by His grace and His mercy that I am still here. I'm still pushing to be who He called me to be. Let me put that plug in there right now. So if this is something that you are interested in doing, if this is something that you're passionate about pursuing, I will tell all your viewers and listeners, like, feel free to reach out to me. I can be a resource to you. And if I don't know the question that you need me to answer, I will find somebody who does. But you have to, when you choose a career, you really have to think about all that goes into it, like the time that you have to invest, the money that you have to invest, the things that you'll have to sacrifice. But after weighing all those things, you really need to think about like the end goal and like what you'll receive and the reward in the end. So I know that my reward will be greater than the sacrifices that I've made, and that kind of keeps me going each and every day. So I just wanted to kind of leave that there. I know like I can be a little bit of a pessimist. I'm not a pessimist. I think I'm a realist. I'm gonna just keep it real with y'all. Like people think like, oh, Blair's a doctor. She got it made. She has money. No, wrong to every single one of those. Like wrong.
300,000 debt.
Yeah, like I have mad debt. Like I've sacrificed a lot. I've lost like a lot of relationships. It's been a lot, but I'm still pushing. I'm still growing. I'm still chasing my dreams, and it's still a struggle. In med school and becoming a doctor, it's like constant learning. You have to constantly restart over. I had to start school over again, go to med school, come to residency. I'm back at the bottom of the totem pole. Then I had to go through 4 years of this. I'm back at the bottom of the totem pole. I'm a new attending. Like you have to really be prepared for the work environment as well. So there's a lot of things to consider when you're thinking about going into medicine. So do your research. If you're passionate about it, pursue it. Don't let anybody stop you. But I'm here to be a resource for people. I'm here to be a support system for others. The best advice that I will give you is, stay grounded in your faith, stay grounded in your core values. Keep the people that you love close to you, and tell people around you what you need. If you need support from somebody, tell them how to support you. I struggled so much throughout this entire journey because I didn't let people know how they could support me. I wish my friends would have called me more. If I would have told them, like, hey, call me. I can't call you, but call me. They might have
blamed Judea on that one.
I know I understand that people are going through their own things, and like, this is just life. But like, I need to hold myself accountable. Everybody else does too. We need to do a better job. I communicated like with our families, with our loved ones, like, yo, like I'm depressed. Can you come pull up? Like, yo, I'm struggling. You know what I mean? And then we need to do a better job at guessing too. Like, oh, I haven't heard from so-and-so in a while. Let me go see what's up with her. What's up with him? So we made a lot of plugs, medicine, mental health. We talked about drugs, courtesy of Smoove. But
yo, she about to end our show, bro. You hear it?
You might as well close it out for us, Blair.
Close it out. God damn.
We'll close it out in prayer. Go ahead, man.
We gonna pray?
Yeah.
Oh, this is new. This is new to Stepping Into the Light, Step Into the Mic podcast. So we'll close it out.
Man's trying to pray like he don't. He's trying to play like he don't pray at every function. He prays at every function.
I do. I do, man. I'm a strong Christian man when it comes to my beliefs, and like when we talked about prior to the podcast. That's why when we talk about certain things in the group chat, I really don't. I respect everybody's own belief systems and everything like that, but I don't try to chime into it when it comes to that. I'll just throw a little tidbits in there. But I guess we'll close it up. I can just say, Lord, thank us for allow us to continue to prosper. Allow Blair to continue to prosper. With her your medical career, keep us safe, keep us well, keep us fed. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. Nice and sweet, but I love it. Glory.
So all right. So any closing words, Smoove?
Today's episode was fantastic, Blair. Thank you very much.
Was it? I don't even know. I feel like I was talking a lot, which I usually do.
And which is fine, but
that's fine.
In the process of you talking, we learned a lot.
A lot of information.
Did you guys learn? I don't know. I learned from y'all too, so that's good.
That's what it's all about. That's what this platform is about. Everybody should be on here listening and learning something new, whether it's good or bad, and the people that's listening to it, hopefully they take something good, something bad from whatever. Just it's all about learning. It's all about learning. So thank you very much. That's all I got.
You're so welcome.
Dr. Blair, do you have any last words, any comments, any criticism in regards to the podcast? And when we close, Smoove, stop the recording, just stay on the Zoom and we'll talk after.
Oh, okay. Closing remarks. No, thanks for having me on here, guys. I honestly was like, when Matt asked me to do this, my first inclination was to be like, no, I don't want to do no, I don't want to get on here. But no, like I said, I have a responsibility to my people, my peers. So, and I actually do this more often than you think, but I do it with the youth. I'll talk to high school students.
Wow.
Yeah, that's something I've been doing for years. I'll talk to high school students interested in medicine or, just a medical career. I'll talk to college students. I'm a mentor to people who are in undergrad taking their Mcat. I do all the time, but I wasn't sure how it would be on this platform. And I struggle with how do I say this? I don't have a filter. So I was just like, dang, this gonna be out there for the world to see. When I do it in the classroom, I can say whatever. They're not recording but I was a little bit hesitant because I knew that you guys would be recording. But the only thing I can do is be myself. So I thank you guys for allowing me to get on here and be normal Blair, not just Dr. Blair Barnes. I'm Blair. I don't want to say I'm still the same Blair that people, knew from back in the day, but I'm still human. So I'm going to make mistakes. You might see me at the club one day. This is my business. My business. I'm human. You might see me at the bar. I want to reiterate that too. Just because I am a medical professional, just because that doesn't mean that my life ends. And that doesn't mean that I still am not human and I'm going to do normal stuff that normal people do. So I think that, we should all continue to extend grace to one another and not judge one another and just praise each other for, one another's accomplishments. I made it here by the grace of God, but also by the support of my friends and, my community. Like I said, every time I stepped into a room with a Black patient, their family was rooting me on. They was just yeah, you know what I mean? They were putting in good words for me, my attending. There were people supporting me this entire way. And I genuinely believe God sent these people to me to kind of keep me pushing and keep me going. But even if he did send them, people who don't even believe in God was rooting for me. So, it is what it is. So I think I'll just leave with that. I thank you guys for allowing me to be myself on here. We talked about a lot of difficult topics, touchy topics that people may disagree with, and I'm okay with agreeing to disagree. This is partly my medical opinion and partly my personal opinion. So I don't want anybody to kind of get offended or think that, misconstrue anything that I've said. But I'm Blair unapologetically, and I'm Dr. Barnes second, okay? And I'm a child of God first, to put that out there. So thank you, Matt. Thank you, Smoove. I've been calling you Joe this whole time, but now I'm calling you.
You are good. Joe Smoove, what's happening? Thank you. You're welcome.
So thank you guys. It's been an honor. It's been my pleasure.
Well, we appreciate you, and once again, we say thank you for gracing your presence with the podcast, and we love you, and we're going to continue to show you support and continue to pray for you. And anytime you need us, we'll take me and Judea. We'll take the drive up to Connecticut. You know what I mean? We'll come.
It's
show
a long
love.
drive.
No, it's not.
It's a long drive.
We go to Boston all the time. What are you talking about?
About to say, how many hours is it?
Dude,
Connecticut's like 4 hours. It's nothing.
Oh, all right.
It's really not
Nothing.
even that far. Like New Haven is kind of far. Oh, we can get off the podcast and talk about this. So, but yeah.
we can. So signing off. This has been another exciting, beautiful, loving episode of Step Into the Light, Step Into the Mic podcast. It's your boy M. signing off.
Smoove the Black Kennedy. Thank you, people.
All right, peace
and
to love,
Dr.
guys.
Barnes.
Oh my
Bye.
God,
There we go, Dr. Barnes in the building,
Dr.
man.
Barnes.
Make sure y'all show Dr. Barnes some love, all right?
Facts, yo. Love y'all. Appreciate y'all. Peace to love.
Love you guys.
Hi.